Hi buddies, hope you're doing fine. In this series, we are going to see the summary of the work Poetics of Dislocation written by Meena Alexander. First, let's see the introduction of the author. If you are ready, let's get started. Meena Alexander, who was a poet, scholar and also a writer. She was born in Allahabad and grew up in India and Sudan. At the age of 18, she moved to England for her studies and then she returned to India and then she lived in New York City where she was worked as a distinguished professor of English at Hunter College. If you want to analyze about her, she is the author of numerous volumes of poetry and literary memoirs and also more essays. And she wrote literary criticism works also. We can call her as a eminent poet of Asian American writer. Now she is a distinguished professor of English at Hunter College. So she is a living writer. So that's all about the introduction of the author Meena Alexander. Now we are directly move on to the work Poetics of Dislocation. In this work Poetics of Dislocation, which written in the year 2009, it talks about the problems of the immigrant and their sufferings. So we can understand the migrant writer's problem through this work. As I have already mentioned that Meena Alexander, who was an eminent writer and also she went to USA for her studies. When she was staying there, she has undergone so many problems for getting identity. So through this work, she portrays the dilemmas that she and other immigrant poets problem, also their sufferings. In this work, Poetics of Dislocation, which belongs to the Poets on Poetry series, and this collection is divided into more sections and it covers the theme like poetry and plays, migrant memory and also Poetics of Dislocation. And the volume Poets on Poetry series, which includes Meena Alexander's short essays from journals and magazines. So when we read this work, Poetics of Dislocation, we can know the point of view of Meena Alexander that she covers like not only she talks about her own personal suffering but also she portrays about the other immigrant writers' sufferings. So the Red Indians who are staying in another country while they are facing so many problems like Meena Alexander and also other immigrant writers. So migration is the dominant theme which has portrayed in this work Poetics of Dislocation, and those who are settled in America or migrate to other countries while they are facing more identical problems and also has a homeless feelings and also they are facing so many identical problems. For example, the Indians, they are wanting to settle in America. After they are settled in America, for the namesake they are called as Americans, but they are treated as others, like they are called as Red Indians. For this, Meena Alexander, who portrayed about the sufferings which is undergone by the Indians. And if you want to signify the title, that is Poetics of Dislocation, in the title itself it refers the meaning like the sufferings of the immigrants. Poetics, which refers the writers. In literature, so many genres are there like poetry, fiction, non-fiction, essays, short stories, etc. So those who are writing any of these genres, they were all refers to poetics. And the second part of the title, Dislocation, which refers that the homeless feelings of the immigrant writers. So this is the signification of the title. And when we see the beginning of the Poetics of Dislocation, Meena Alexander, who provides to tell some anecdote, that is some points to narrate her own point of view. So her words like I wouldn't make a house but a boat, the kind of boat that's like a tent. So through these lines, Meena Alexander, who wants to state something like She just need a small recognition as an American writer like other Americans, so that she want to build a house with using poetry, not with using brick. So this is the one and only expectation of Meena Alexander and also other immigrant writers. And then she keep on talks like in reader's point of view, settled American writers, that is the immigrant writers, also considered as a American, but she says that it's not like that. Why? Because the literary writers of the Americans, they are dislocates the red Indians among them. And also she says that the immigrant writers, they just need a recognition as an American writer from other colleagues like the literary writers, they belong to the native of America. So these are all the stuffs of sufferings and emotions which has portrayed by Meena Alexander in this work Poetics of Dislocation. And then she has divided this work into 5 layered parts. So the first concern of the part is poetry and plays, and the next one is picturing saints, and the third one is migrant memory, and the fourth one is Poetics of Dislocation, and the final one is in conversation. So these are all the parts which has divided by Meena Alexander in this work. And as I have already mentioned, like the literary writers who belongs to the native of America, they are dislocates the different people from the different countries. So this is the reality, but in reader's point of view, I mean we are all believing like those who are settled in America, they are called as Americans, but it's not in reality. The actual truth is dislocation alone. And another thing, poetics, which also I have already mentioned, like poetics, which refers that all genres of literature and the writers who are belongs to another country, that is the immigrants. And the one and only need of the immigrant writers, it's just like the cordial relationship and also some kind of hospitality. So this is the just need of the immigrants, but the native writers who just dislocate the another people who are belongs to another country. So the very reason Meena Alexander who points like without poetry we are not survive in America or any other country, because it just keeps us to stay in other native countries. And then she also talks about the hospitality. Hospitality, it is an aesthetic sense and also it is a very ethical sense. So we just expect the equal rights like other native writers. And then she talks about poetry. So the poetry which help us to unite the people with all over the nations. So without poetry, the native writers, they will be violent to approach us and they will control us and exchange from them. But the immigrants, we are all like raising phoenix. So whatever task are waiting for us, we just often raising like the phoenix to violence with them. So we are all well known about the bird phoenix. So the bird which is having a quality like it has a long life to live. So it is an immortal bird. Also it has the ability to rise from the ashes, that is after its death. So like that, the immigrant writers also has the ability to rise from the disappointments and the sufferings like phoenix bird. So this is the thing which has portrayed in this work. So through this work we can see a lot of sufferings and longingness in the mind of immigrant writers. And we can get more themes like migration, creativity, sufferings and longingness in the mind of immigrant writers, also dislocation. So in this work, Meena Alexander who explore the issues of her struggles and also other immigrant writers' problem to focus in the diaspora subject. So when we look at this work, we can clear in one thing that our expectation about other countries are often like an imagination, but When we seeing the reality, it will be a shocking stuff. Also, it will be ended in with more disappointment. So that's all about this work. Hope this video will be useful one, and thank you so much for watching this video till the end. If you are having any suggestion, let me know in the comment section. We'll see you next video. Tada, bye bye.